Welcome everybody, and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so grateful that you are tuning in to these videos that address the shamanic energy healing process and how it could be of positive benefit for you and your loved ones. I'm here today to talk about soul retrieval. Soul retrieval is very central to shamanic healing, shamanic energy healing. Soul retrieval acknowledges that we are, as a human being in a singular body, we are made up of many different parts of self. And under positive circumstances, in healthy situations, such as if we're growing up in a healthy household with good enough parents, we would be able to access all of the different aspects of our personality and of our humanity. So I like to think of us in our humanity in the purest sense. When we come out of the womb as an infant, we are very pure. We are have an innate sense of our wholeness, unless there has been some serious transgenerational wounds that have been passed into our parent, our mother, and into us, or even from other past life influences. But basically, somebody who comes in healthy and whole and balanced is going to have access to their basic sense of trust in their own body, trust in life, trust in themselves, trust in their caregivers, parents, family members, etc. They are going to feel well and whole and balanced. And all those things that make them a beautiful, unique human being, their creative self, all their creativity, all of their gifts, they are going to have access to all of that as they grow up into adulthood. That would be the way in which we have many aspects of self, but they are healthy and integrated. Now, unfortunately, what happens is that sometimes these healthy aspects of self can disappear. They can be driven away by abuse. They can even be disappear into the subconscious because of beliefs, attitudes from our family of origin. An example would be that, let's say, a child had a musical gift and wanted to become a musician, or an artistic gift and wanted to become an artist, but the parents were very focused on making sure that their child would have a very prosperous way to make money, and because there would be a belief operating in that family that you can't, quote unquote, make a living being an artist. All right? And so that gift that child had would not be nurtured and nourished. And therefore, the child would begin to deny, ignore that aspect of self because the parents would not be mirroring that giftedness back to them. That would be a very simple example. Another example that I often use is if a child was being beaten by his father. let's say beaten regularly for so-called infractions or mistakes or just because, okay? So what could happen because of that prolonged abuse, that prolonged trauma, is that a part of the child that trusts life would disappear and would disappear into the subconscious. And that child would grow up as not having a deep trust in the goodness of life and even in the goodness of himself, or might not trust other men. Other patterns could emerge, that man could decide to go to war, right? Because the only thing that he knew as a child was violence. And so he would be drawn towards violence. For better or for worse. I'm not necessarily saying that going to war, fighting in war as a soldier is a bad thing for an individual. On a soul level, that is a profound and deep soul's choice. But it can also be driven by trauma. So this is called soul loss. So when an aspect of self, a gift or an aspect of one's wholeness gets driven away, driven down, splits off, gets fractured off, and then creates and arises out of distorted beliefs about things, about reality, about self, about others. And then that begins to create an external, an internal mental emotional environment where there may be depression, there may be anxiety, there may be other kinds of emotional symptoms, as well as experiences that come into that person's life that are very, very challenging, very difficult. Now, if you listen to my wound extraction video, I talk about how trauma affects us and creates wounds within us, and how shamanic energy, using shamanic energy healing, I can extract that wound from the deep psyche, from the subconscious, so it's no longer operating like a festering wound, right? But then what I have to do is I have to do a soul retrieval. Soul retrieval is when we actually journey, when I actually journey to bring back lost parts of self, or bring back gifted qualities in self that have been denied or suppressed. And actually, soul retrieval can also be bringing in yet to be manifested qualities and gifts. So an example that I give from my life is that though I could sing when I was younger, I was very, very insecure and shy about singing. And it was just a gift that I never developed. And that, although I did try, playing the guitar and the violin and the flute, it just was never the right fit, right? The kind of music that I studied. And so by the time I was in college, I basically stopped studying any kind of instrument or music. And then many, many years later, after I really stepped forward to become a shamanic healer and a teacher of shamanism, a spiritual teacher, what began to happen is that all these sacred songs began to play in my mind, particularly when I was working with a client. And so I began to chant and sing in my healing sessions. And as it turns out, I learned that I have a very good voice and a very strong voice. Now, don't get me wrong, I could use some voice training, but, for the purposes that I use my gift of singing, in healings and in ceremony, my voice is fine. So that would be called a yet to be manifested gift, a yet to be manifested aspect of self. Another aspect of self that we could talk about would be, for instance, the self that believes and knows that we are beautiful inside, that knows we are beautiful inside. So particularly for women, and also that we are beautiful outside, no matter what the society says is the standard of beauty. All human beings are beautiful. Because when you know inside that you are beautiful, that beauty shines through and illuminates your physical garment, and also can give you the ability to, or inspiring you or awakening you, a different way of walking and working in your body. So that would be an aspect of self where your belief in your own beauty, inner and outer, could have been driven into the lower world, into your subconscious, exiled, all right? And so when I'm doing a shamanic energy healing, after cleansing and cleaning the energy body and the chakras, I then can go and journey into the lower world, into the subconscious, and into what is called the Chamber of Wounds, which is basically just a shamanic map of consciousness. And I can actually then extract the wound with a clear quartz 12-sided Vogel crystal. And then when I do that, I do more cleansing and clearing, and then I do a soul retrieval, bringing back some aspect of self, some quality that maybe was driven out, suppressed, or denied, or that maybe was just the conditions were never right for it to be manifested fully. Now, a soul retrieval can also be the retrieval of an archetypal energy, such as the archetype of the warrior, the healed, the wounded and healed warrior, or the archetype of the healer. Or there can be angelic qualities, angelic beings that appear that might give you back your strength. Like Archangel Michael could give you back your sense of strength and a knowing, a feeling that you are safe and protected. So soul retrieval can run the range from personal qualities, personal aspects of self that we might recognize as parts of personality, but we can also access the archetypal aspects of self as they appear to us in cosmic beings of light, in frequencies of greater dimensions of our human experience. And so once I do that soul retrieval, I then blow it into the solar plexus, into the energy body, into the subconscious of my client. And then it begins to grow in that activation, and over time we will find ourselves feeling more balanced and whole, because the wound has been extracted, the source of the wounding, the source of the trauma has been extracted, and that part of self, or that archetypal aspect of self, of the cosmos, has been seeded into us. So this is a very, very important part of our healing journey from trauma, from the point of view of shamanic energy medicine. So I welcome you to contact me, to ask me any questions, or to explore the possibility of doing a shamanic energy healing. I love working with people to bring them back into wholeness and balance, harmony, prosperity, abundance, joy, and happiness. Oh, and love. May you be whole and healed and well. May it be so. Aho Wado.